Button pressed.
Welcome back to Exalted Essence, Crimes of Nature. Last time, the grand diplomatic brouhaha began at the Pillar. There were many discussions among many important players among the region of the Hundred Kingdoms that centered around the Rift. The crew set about pursuing their own goals, making sure everything was going smoothly, discussing among each other and with the visiting delegations the topics leading into the main debates. There was some gentle roasting of some people involved. Uh, Shireen had to kind of sit down and process some stuff relating to Bismuth Maw's the Lunar and all that. But everything seems to be going pretty alright so far. Things are relatively, not perfect, but smooth. And the festivities have been going well, and it is soon to be the main proper event of the thing, which is the diplomatic discussions and forging of the actual details of the alliance, confederation, treaty, compact, whatever you want to call it, whatever the name will be set upon. And that is what we will be leading into. As a brief note, Wandering Newbie is presumably waylaid by Sleep or Minmo or both, and maybe showing up here soon. We will see. So, let us.
I mean, the party's still going, right?
Oh yeah, the party is definitely still going.
Did you holding the meeting?
It will be at the base of the pillar in the open air, so it will be visibly perceived by the people of the delegation. It will not be really behind a closed door unless there are particularly highly sensitive things. It is in the spirit of trustworthiness, like we will do this in the view of the sun and the pillar and the community.
I guess Yako Man will sweep for boring infiltrators, security stuff.
All right.
You should team up with Stalwart Daughter. She's on sweeping duty too.
Actually, can I report to Stalwart Daughter? Can Stalwart Daughter be my boss?
Sure. Yeah, actually. Roll me. Yeah, roll me your finesse awareness.
That's a 10. All right.
All right, you do a pretty thorough sweep around of the group, having gone beyond your educational, story time with the children about, let's not be a mob, etc. The general vibe that you're picking up is that it is still calm, but in a way that is odd and you can't quite put your finger on. If you didn't know better, you would feel like there is some other invisible force kind of patrolling and making sure things go well. In terms of you can hear that there are some arguments, there's some tensions from some people, the North Folk and Clay Bottom people bicker a little bit about the way that the construction is going, but it doesn't really escalate, and they realize festival, let's get back to it. And there is some tension between the delegation from the God's River, Breath River and, Bismuth, because they have a history of conflict back in the day. But it's a combination of just common sense. This is not the time for us to be doing some shit to each other.
To make moves, yeah. And
just a feeling of that, just your innate instinct for that comment should have gotten more of a rise out of somebody. Everybody just seems to be in a particularly not forgiving, but at least fuck it mood.
Affable to some degree.
Yeah. At worst, I will tick that in my book for later, not today.
It might be Guan, who knows.
can report to horse, or you could report to Guan if that's one of your suspicions. It's up to you.
No, I'm just gonna report to horse, because whatever.
Alright, so you sneak up to Stalwart Daughter and give the mission report, and Stalwart Daughter, would you use the charm to actually like communicate with animals so you can understand responses back, or would you just talk into the direction of the horse?
Well, of course, she's my boss. I'm gonna treat her. Like, you have to understand.
Okay, I could see either way for Yang, but she basically gives you the response back in simple form of just, it does seem like everything is like everyone. How would she put this?
The vibes do seem serene, yes.
Right, but like I'm just trying to think of how she would conceptualize it.
Conspicuous lack of fear.
Yeah, like she is almost started to look for things to be afraid of, and been like, I mean, like, that puddle of water isn't particularly frightening today. That kind of thing. Like, just, it is not just everyone seems cool. It just seems that there is a natural sort of rut in the road. Like the easy route is to not get riled up.
Darren, I'll have you know, Stalwart Daughter's very good at staying calm and not being afraid.
I know, but also, Stalwart Daughter also recognizes, like, okay, I'm very calm, like, Stalwart Daughter is the horse without fear and bones, and thus has no weaknesses, but Stalwart Daughter also can understand, like, okay, hang on, something's a little off.
Yeah, I guess Yang, or Yakuman rather, will just be in a black suit and shades and just standing at attention.
Alright.
Milan is currently helping Shirin cope. Work some things out.
Yeah, there would be time between meeting start and meeting end for that. But
I feel like at some point off camera she's going to work up the energy to at least go apologize to Bismuth Ma. And
yes, yeah, that was actually a planned little bit in probably after the meeting or during or at some point.
And Milan wants to be there for that.
Okay, yeah, we might as well can just do that now, because
Well, hold on. I was going to say, during that entire discussion at the end of the previous thing, this got cut off because I was an idiot and didn't turn my mic on. Angler was intentionally
this was not cut on camera.
Bismuth and Koi the whole time, just in case she looked over of, yeah, it's just a normal thing. There's nothing weird about them talking right now. So he'd be in the area, but he wouldn't say anything if she's going to come over.
Okay, so yeah, basically the discussion would be going back and forth on that, and there would be a general catching up between the three of you, and just, again, a kind of a cyclical elbowing back and forth of whoever is being targeted by the other two, in terms of, friendly social banter and things like that. You do notice that their eyes do slip over to Shireen when the intervention is happening, but they don't say anything out loud. It is they're not really hiding that they notice, okay, something's happening, but neither do they make a point of it. They decidedly stay over by you and do not bring it up, and they do not go over. And before, probably an hour-ish, if not shorter, before the proper meeting under the pillar of the delegation, Shireen would go over to Ma, Koi, and Angler with Milan. And Koi would actually kind of take a little slight step aside when she saw the approach, as Bismuth notices Shireen coming and is immediately caught in a vortex of okay, I can't leave. I can't look like I'm dismissing her. I can't look I'm mad at her. I can't look what do I do? Just there's this visible moment across his face to Angler in particular being the closest of how do I be receptive and not scary about this? And let me just roll for him to see if he can figure that out.
I hate him in this?
Yes, actually. Declare your dice pool and use a roll.
All right, Angler's going to use finesse, presence, because he's not trying to directly influence. He's just being there and being like, it's fine. She's skittish. Just play it cool.
So yeah, go ahead and do that, and it'll give the successes plus your 1. Ooh, God, okay. So that'll be a total of 6 dice to him, which is good because he is rolling with a mighty 5. So it's not something he is particularly good at is delicate social situations. He's good at being, direct and, he's good at being Obsidian. He's not good at being Milan.
If he botches, okay, I was gonna say if he botches this, then his idea is give her a bear hug.
Oh God, yeah, yeah, that probably would have been what he would have done. He's doing his best. He's trying very hard to not make eye contact, to look casual. He is by the food cart and he is eating food, but in a way that it is just very much I'm not eating food. It's like the same way that somebody casually on a newspaper, on a park bench with a newspaper looking over the top of it, totally isn't watching you. He is totally just eating food and not watching Shireen get up and trying to think about what do I do. Just very extremely normal, casual behavior. And Shireen immediately notices that that's happening and is more nervous but keeps going up. Bismuth does not appear to notice that it has backfired. Bismuth? Yeah, of course. What's up? Says, putting down the platter of probably stir-fried meats of some sort. I'd like to Bismuth is just kind of
Darren,
Bismuth would actually shoot a look of help to Milan.
I would like to make an inspire roll to Shirin.
All right. What is the inspiration?
The inspiration is that she doesn't need to be afraid. I and the rest of my hearth are here for her.
So, inspire bravery.
Yes.
All right. That'll be probably force and performance, maybe? That or, yeah, probably performance or presence.
Four successes. You got this.
She takes a breath in, takes a breath out. So I was told that I was missing some context, and I may have said some things that were really hurtful in the meantime that I didn't know that I was going to be hurtful, and I'm really sorry, and I really, really, really am sorry for what I said, and I'm very glad that you were very nice about it, and you didn't that you were very nice about it. Bismuth just holds up a hand, and she immediately just goes red, mouth snaps shut, stands straight up, puts his hand down when he realizes. No. Look, it was clear that you didn't know by the way you approached. Not regardless of whatever you said. That was. The fact that, well, you heard about. He kind of gestures at his forehead. And you didn't come over here and start trying to beat me senseless. That was a higher expectation than I had normally. She just immediately is shaking her head no. He holds his head no. That's the point. Both of us were operating assuming that the other one of us was going to be a different kind of person, and got to talk to each other, thankfully, before those interpretations got snarled. Good. You said was understandable in the context that you had. I appreciate. trying. And if I ever make you uncomfortable, or if this conversation is making you uncomfortable, or anything like, look, I'm not good at this. This is not what I do. You're good, kid. Just keep being you. Just keep being you.
Bismuth Moss going to get a wind-carried words from Milan saying, the words are apology accepted.
Oh, apology accepted. And he very obviously, like, has his ear, like, kind of tilt and tip up when he hears, like, Very is not hiding that he just heard that. And Shireen, like, nods fervently, but also has a look in her eyes of just, like, recognizes that he got tipped off, but is grateful he did, and is just nodding along. And just, thank you, like, thank you. She kind of glances back up awkwardly. I do have one question, if you would be willing to answer it. Sure, Bismuth says. So are you a pangolin too? Bismuth just kind of stares. No. Well, no. If I understand what you're asking, no. I can be, but no.
Ooh, Okay, Milan's going to say he's a big Papa Bear.
Bismuth immediately turns like as just red and is just like not mad red, like just Shireen. Oh, do you mean let her? Yes, to cut him off. Yes. Aww. Shireen just says, "Do you have kids?" No, It's metaphorical. I am sorry. I'm prying.
Angler's looking up at Neef like you went too far. You had to push the envelope.
Bismuth sees that Repose is walking up and is just like, this is either going to get so much better or so much worse, and I'm bracing for either possibility.
So, in the background,
Shireen has just got quiet.
Rose has been scuttling around, conducting a thing that I came up with. That was definitely part of the meeting planning all along. Everyone is walking out of here with a victory jar of rust from the pit around the nail.
Haha, good.
So he has been distributing jars, and so it's just as this conversation occurred, slid up. Angler gets jar, Koi gets jar, Finif gets jar, and then as this conversation is worsening, just slide in, you get jar.
Oh, what's
slide
this?
over, you get jar. Say nothing, but just continue going about.
Bismuth would actually try to stop you and ask what it is, see that you continue walking and get the idea. Right, would not actually stop you when you continued on, opened it up, look it up. Oh. Huh. You know, Shireen, he says, stopping for a moment. Do you remember that thing falling? No, I'm not that old, no. But, I can tell you, he says, picking up a pinch of the rust and rubbing it between his fingers. I have used this on the Fae. Really? What does it do? Well, let me think of how this would be get across. You ever seen one of your fire-blooded get mad in the library? It's like that, but with their skin. Bismuth actually looks a little taken aback at the gremlin laugh. Just very much not the reaction I expected, but one I will take. As Shireen just kind of clutches the jar to her chest like,
Everyone gets just a little like hotel jar of thermite.
Yep. So, I see old man has taken the appropriate position.
Yes. Although not quite the same way as he normally would have before. He's just overlooking at this point.
Actually, give me a finesse awareness roll while you are up there at the top.
I am going to have to open up my sheet because I don't remember those numbers.
That's good.
Right. He does not have any awareness anymore. That is less than 7S. Whoops, that's actually 4 successes.
Alright, so first thing you notice is that the carvings that Repose has put up here are being pretty well maintained by the spirit of the spire, the nail itself. The second thing you notice is that the crowds are doing pretty well, and it is, pretty good congregation of a couple of hundred people. The third thing you notice is that there is a slightly... how to phrase this from your point of view? It is getting into the late afternoon, and the... actually, I will say that this roll has let you perceive it, and this next roll will let you interpret it. Roll me either force or finesse, depending on your approach, occult, to try to analyze an omen.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to just like go off of raw knowledge, I would assume. I'm actually going to work out the omen from previous knowledge and figure out what the new information is.
Yes.
Which is to say finesse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's pretty good, I guess.
Jesus Christ.
A little bit of an 8 success.
So, you are able to, as you are sitting on the pillar and just kind of idly looking around, first of all, notice that it is about the time of day where the sun is beginning to shine through the canyon that the nail punched it through the rift. And the second thing you notice is that you are able to kind of look at the rays of the sun, turn around. The moon is in a straight line directly, between, it is sun, nail, moon, direct straight line. So that's auspicious.
Conjunction.
Yeah, it is. Number one, it's already a conjunction, and number two is that as the moon is rising, it is still not dark enough to really see all that many stars, but you can already see that, you can see some of the constellations and planets a little earlier in the day than you think you should. This is serious conjunction vibes is going on here.
Old man's gonna look quickly down to Koi to see if she's noticed anything, or if she's just schmoozing. Schmoozing.
Let's see if she did.
My immediate assumption is that other wizards also pay attention to omens at all times.
She seems to be looking around. She doesn't seem to have identified something going on, but notices that there is a vibe in the air.
If she ever catches old man's eyes here, he will actually then point up, in the directions, and just do a finger of a straight line.
She would actually, at some point, probably glance up to old man, catch eye, see you gesture, look, and then you would see her look towards the cliff face, see the sun, glance over to the moon, tracing across you, and then look back to you just like...
And old man's actually going to give a big shrug, because a big omen like this is auspicious, but also that does not necessarily mean it's a good one.
Right, it means something big is happening. and
It's
that
big.
the sky has noticed.
The bigness is occurring, which is that's certainly something. Will this
From her-
bigness be used for good or evil? Who can say?
But yeah, it seems from her body language, she was kind of hoping for. I mean, I was hoping this would be big, but not orbs in sky big. But yeah, with that settled and out of the way, we can start to assemble the crew. Yeah. We just get the tokens all worked around for the delegations. Shireen and Flowing River would be back because they're not official representatives. Away. Bismuth. Northfolk. Swampton. God's whoop. God's Breath River. Probably over here with them. Trident River Valley. Damn it, I didn't make a token for Veniscue. Oh well, hindsight. And Satrapy. Let's put you.
Old Man is actually going to recommend that Bismuth should be up here and Sybil should be down here, for what it's worth, but only very, very subtly of just like, come on, go over there. That's important. There we go.
Yeah, like the moment that you make a gesture to the signals in the sky, Sybil would just kind of like go, huh. Juan would immediately just kind of have his shading on his face turn up 100 times. Just that kind of just immediate art shift. And Bismuth would just kind of very much, alright, and then go be on the edge of the circle, not far enough to be rude, but far enough to be like, I'm optionally in this circle.
Old Man will give a big toothy smile and big thumbs up to both duos for listening. Yeah.
A lot
Listen
of
to the
occult
heavens.
planning went into the seating arrangements.
Mm-hmm.
So many calculations.
Let me count 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, now part of me is I want to actually place them in the positions where they are on the map. So actually, yeah, give me a second to do that because that feels more correct. Here.
I have a lore question.
Yeah, what's up?
Because I was thinking about this on the way home, and it's infinitely funny to me. I don't. All right, so where is Old Man's Mountain located?
Old Man's Mountain's
Nebulously
located-
nebulously near Grey Falls.
Okay,
It's somewhere slightly northeasterly of Grey Falls.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Which, by the way, is a bad place for it to be because northeast is the direction where evil comes from. But don't worry about that.
Don't worry about it.
It's fine.
I don't think Old Man was ever officially invited.
I mean, by being part of the Hearth, but yes.
But anyway, at this exact moment, as guests start being introduced and what have you, and everybody is taking their seats, Moat pops out of somewhere on Old Man with an invitation card in his mouth.
Okay, go
What?
clockwise. 1, 2, 3. Oh, joy! Drunken Waterfall shows up next to Cascade.
He'll have fun.
Just does not explain himself as just, yeah, I'm here.
Immediately after Moat pops out on Old Man, he becomes aware of the card. Old Man's name is announced. It's just
Old Man-
It's just Old Man of the Mountain.
Which isn't his name. He actually does have one now, for what
Would-
it's worth.
would it be introduced with the name or with old name?
Okay, I had forgotten. Sorry, that's a lore
It's
thing.
Li Tongmian.
No. Look, tell me on is his old
Right,
name. It's
his
actually
right, yeah.
Shoshin Koyola Providence.
Right.
Yes, yeah. Sorry. Yes, you would be introduced by your new name.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody would kind of look at
remembers him and knows him as old man, which is fine though.
Everybody kind of looks at each other. Who the hell is that?
Except for the people who've directly interacted with the Hearth, and they're like, "Oh yeah, there he is." Yeah, like the general crowd is like, "Who and what the hell is that?" Everyone who knows you is like, "Oh, wondering when you'd show up."
But anyway, yes, I had this moment. Oh, okay, wait, no, old man is actually a pretty significant figure of the area. He should have been invited, but also he probably would not have taken the invitation. Maybe.
Well, he would now.
Now, okay, but I just had this moment of like, all right, entrapment. He's here already.
He wouldn't keep the invitation, but he would take it.
Anywho, that was the thought I had on the way home today.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, as the introductions are going around, it is Steel Tearing Bureaucrat from the Gods River Valley, Saraban, the appointed one of the village representatives from the Trident River Valley. There is a number of other people with Saraban, and Repose is with that group in the background. Furious Cascade, as the representative of the Jade Orchid Prefecture, with a special appointment from Dragon Slaying Burr. Granite and Waterfall are hanging nearby. Flowing River and Shireen are out in the crowd. 20 Sleeping Swords, the Elder of the Northfolk, one of the Elders of the Northfolk who wanted to show up and be represented. Dr. Clearheart from Riftwood, the Satrap of Grey Falls, Sinis Verheen, the Inquisitor of the Immaculate Order from from Fallen River Valley, the Honorable Veniscu from the Fallen River Valley's Parliament, and a number of other parliamentarians that Milan remembers from the reform efforts. Koi Invictus, Sorceress from the Flying River Province, and Bismuth Maw from the Woods. So, the introductions would all be circled around and made. Proper observations will be made religiously, led by a general coalition of the religious representatives from each of the groups. General, thanks and awareness to sun, moon, stars, earth, everything. Just the general opening ceremony, acknowledgments of the divinities. And
the usual.
Yeah. After that, the meeting would move into a discussion, probably either led by Obsidian if Obsidian wants to speak first, or one of them. Would Obsidian want to be the first speaker?
Obsidian would expressly not take the lead.
Okay.
His entire purpose of building this is so that the community has a way to support themselves. He would step in if things start to go south, but he is not taking the lead in any part of this.
Okay. So, probably the first person to speak up would be Cascade. But as there's kind of a moment where, in the heartbeats, several of the people are expecting Obsidian to make some sort of speech or introduction as a perfunctory thing as the person who assembled it, and upon realizing that Obsidian has, visibly in body language going, no, this is your job, Cascade would step up for a moment. Ladies and gentlemen of the Rift of the 100 Kingdoms, I thank you all for being here with us, and thank you for honoring our presence here as well. I would like to speak in favor of this idea and this proposal diplomatically. It is true that I am involved with a hearthmate of the person who was a primary force between the logistics of getting this together. But frankly, I've been here for far less time than many of you, and I have already come to understand why this place should be so valiantly protected. I will mince no words. I come from the Blessed Isle, and the Blessed Isle is facing dark days ahead. I see in this place a valley of safety, a valley of people that have had a history of squabbling at each other's throats for many reasons, but a history of a valley that has also come together against threats internal and external. A valley that, without my husband, or his hearth, or myself, has been plenty capable of taking care of itself. I see myself here not as a political power, so much as I am here as a facilitator. I want to be part of this community. I want to be part of this region. I do not want to be atop it. I do not want to be aside from it. But I also want to help it come together. I want to help it hold itself up. And I want it so that when all of us, from those who will pass in a manner of decades to those who may be here for considerably longer time, no matter how long we silk into the generations, I want there to be something for not just our bloodlines, but even at minimum, just for our children and our grandchildren. I want them to be able to look back at this moment, this meeting, at this coalition, and I want them to point at that and say that they were safe because of that. That they had happy lives and they were able to protect themselves and do great things because of this. I'm not in this for me. I'm in this for my daughters. I'm in this for my family. I'm in this for their children. I'm in this for the future of this entire region, of the future of all of us. It's simple enough to bring together a coalition of people and say, until we all die, we will raise arms in an attempt to defend each other because we have our own interests. I, Cascade, have my interests. You, and she gestures over to the satrap. You, Grey Falls, has its interests. Gestures over. You, the Gods River Valley, have your own interests. We can approach this, well, like politicians, frankly. We can approach this with the cold logic of all of us being safer than none of us. And there is something to be said about that. There is truth in that. But if that's the only thing guiding us, if the only thing guiding us is the calculus of this is better for me, then the moment that abacus shifts, then we drop out. So I want to propose as my first entry into, if not the law, then the philosophy of this pact. This is not an agreement of mutual beneficency. This is an agreement to plant a tree and watch it grow. This is an agreement to see this land around us. She gestures at the blasted out land across the nail. This is an agreement to create something that will see this land green again. That will see this nail, having filled its purpose, gone back to the earth, into rust, because in a world that we can make, we may not need something so visceral as a constant reminder in order to make us behave. Thank you. She takes a step backward. And at that, the satrap actually takes a step forward and nods. I'd like to introduce myself formally as Verheen. You may know me as the Satrap of Grey Falls. You may know me from House Sinus. I'm not here for either of those titles, either of those names of that bloodline. As Madame Cascade said, the Isle is facing dark days, and I'm not going to be coy about any of it. I'm going to be upfront. Even before the sheer instability of the Isle, Grey Falls has been left on its own to rot by the Isle for most of the period of time. I cannot speak for prior administrations and how they handled their diplomatic overtures to the region, but I can say that if you look at me and you see one of the spears of the Empress with a mouth, I can't blame you. I'm not going to take that away from you. I'd like to change your mind, but I realize that it is naive, and I'm not going to insult any of us by pretending that one little speech is going to make you all trust me. I don't need you to trust me. I would like you to. But what I need is accountability. I am here as part of this discussion for the simple reason that if I was not here, I would be the elephant in the room. Everyone would be speaking about what I was thinking, about what I would be doing, about what I'm going to do to you. I'm here to tell you I don't care. I don't care. In all honesty, I have enough just running what the Empire expects me to run, and will expect me to run until it bursts into flames, than I have any care for the rest of you, or your provinces, or your wealth, or any of that. I'm here to offer you that Spear of the Empress, not aimed at you, but aimed outward. Because I need help. The high-blooded dynast, she says, is just kind of hands to the sky. I am asking you for help. There is only so much I can do. There's only so much the realm can do, and they are finally beginning to realize that. And this far out, you have to learn that fast or you die. For a long time, I was of the opinion that the way that you kept your head on your shoulders, the way you stayed alive, was that you made sure no one else could take it off of your head first. And that's still the case, to an extent. And we have the better capability of doing that. But no one here is someone I particularly want to aim that sword at. And we have plenty of other things knocking on our doors that do need that sword aimed at it. If it was freed from the sheath and confidently able to go do something about it. I ask you not to trust me. I ask you to watch me, because I intend to demonstrate what I am going to do with this coalition. I will be a military sword as needed. I'll be the economic backbone to support where is needed. And you will all be the heartland. You will all be the rest of the community. You will do the things that we don't know how to do. She just kind of sighs. The realm is good at getting people from an area who know how to do something at the tip of a sword. Or at the tip, or at the end of a bag of jade. I'm getting tired of that. Because every time you have to turn around, you wonder whether or not that's going to come back at you. That's what I want to get at, I suppose. She says she's clearly had her speech kind of planned out to a point and then got into being honest and then has wobbled a little bit. I'd like to see if your way works better, because I'm running out of patience with the one I've been handed. Takes a step back. And looking around, would any this is a check-in of do any PCs want to speak, or is this other NPCs want to speak?
No.
No. No. I'm not gonna take a shit on our table.
Like this is also an out of character check-in, is everything
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I mean, we did the big thing of our job of getting them here. If things start to go wrong, sure, we step in, but right now they're doing the talking and it's not exploding, so it's fine.
Yeah.
All of the wobbly dialogue prompts are hovering in the air and the timer is ticking down.
Mm-hmm.
Use your right stick to point out in a direction.
Shoot, I got some joystick drift. Hang on, I'm selecting throw a pie at someone. Hang on, I need to fix this.
So, rather than, like, those were mostly improvised, and rather than do that, like, 8 more times, I'm going to genericize and move forward through all,
Yes.
because those were the real 2 big points of view, was the generic point of view of the Coalition as voiced by you guys, and the Coalition as voiced by the elephant in the room. Everyone else has their own internal things and their own internal swords to rattle.
Do you want to try something where each member of this group picks someone and not voices them, but brings up what their concern is and what they want out of this? Just sort of collaborative
If you
setting building, if people are okay with that.
Yeah, that might work. Wouldn't be against it.
Sure.
Like, we could just go a layer above and be like, I think, the SWAT people would have these concerns, and then we could start abstracting out what...
Yeah.
Well, actually, what's Darren's plan? Do you have anything else planned after this?
I was going to be moving forward to the next major narrative bump.
Okay.
Yeah, we might as well just let that roll in.
Yep.
Alright, so let's see here. It'll probably be the Inquisitor speaks up over generally the stuff that Repose had discussed with those expected angles. Koi speaks about the things that could be done in terms of integrating the ley lines and other ways of just generally managing the spiritual and managing health of the area. Ma just kind of is like, nah, I'll get to me later. Steel-Tongue Bureaucrat starts to go into much more detailed, specific proposals of the ways that things could work based on what people have said so far. And as that is going on, I want a finesse awareness roll from everyone.
Sure.
Am I required to roll?
4 successes.
If you are trying to pay attention for threats, that is what this roll is for.
we get a bonus for the horse being on security?
You can get a bonus for having scoped it out with horse earlier.
Hello.
You get
3.
Damn!
I will offer Yang a 3-die roll for Stalwart Daughters communicating ideas to the two-legged
Right, yes.
as a
You
support.
sure? This would be a 13, I think.
This is
She offers you 1 dice in communication.
Yeah, you get a 1 die bonus and a stun.
A stun is 2 or 3.
2.
Okay.
Alright. So, Angler, actually. So, Obsidian, I will say, by virtue of rolling as many successes as you had dice on a low pool, I will say you don't get the information, but you do get something. You get an immediate feeling at the just kind of the your gums itch almost of like something is up, something is happening. You're not sure if it's something bad, but something is happening. Just capital H.
There's vibes. Cannot tell if they're good or not.
Yeah. There are powerful vibes occurring. Everyone else can kind of pick up on that, but not in the same sense as Obsidian. Obsidian is actually, I would say Obsidian would be able to categorically realize this is a vibes duel. Something is pushing against vibes of an opposite nature. And Angler...
Vibes.
Angler specifically is the one who hit the threshold of 7 successes to notice what was going on. Is that Flowing River is not next to Shireen anymore. You're not sure where he went.
Because I'm terrible at keeping track of NPC names. Which one was Falling River again?
That is the mortal monk.
Yep.
That is the mortal monastic who has
Nice
been
old
helping
man.
Shireen integrate, and was also the one who helped out with the Inquisitor not being a shitheel.
Okay. The one that was laughing at his situation. Okay.
Mm-hmm. The Angler has been very hyper-vigilant in tracking everyone on the edges of the crowd. And all the thing that makes you notice something is up, Shireen doesn't notice he's gone. Or if she does, she's not reacting.
Before I go anything here, does Yang still have the group chat thing, or is that something that's gone the way of the dodo?
No, that's still a thing.
That is a thing?
Yeah, that is a thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's probably a member of me being on security teams. I'm just maintaining that.
Yeah, so
in
that
that
would be
case-
that would be active for the heart, this nonverbal.
Yeah, it's just, Angler's going to quietly ask everyone, where did Flowing River go?
Everyone blinks, looks around. Question mark?
I will be
There
relaying,
is.
I'm going to be relaying this question to both Guan and Sybil.
Ladal. She was right. And she might not have noticed that he's gone, but she might have noticed, like, when a presence or something disappeared. You never know.
There is.
Shireen, sorry.
Yeah. When it is brought up to Shireen, she actually legit turns to her side like, well, he's right. What? Just a visible, like, well, he's supposed to be right. Wait, what? And when, like, one of you scoots up to... Yeah, Milan scoots up to Guan and is like, hey, did you see where he went? You see Guan stop for a moment, close his eyes, brushes his hair down to cover the small black and purple and silver empty disc on his forehead. Like, it is enough to show that he is spending an excellency, but not enough to, like, make it very visible. Like,
He's using some juice, but covering his cast mark.
Hey,
Yeah.
fuck off, Guan. That's not fair.
Hey, this is him on hypervigilance mode, pouring in all of his resources. This is what he does. In
Bird.
3rd edition,
Oh.
he had almost every awareness charm.
Also, hello, cat.
Yeah, we finally got her voice on the microphone because I had to pull her away from the monitor as she is starting to bat at it when it is making movements with my mouse.
Powerful.
Go on. Thanks for a moment. eyes open, showing his Raiton eyes. We need to go. All of you, she and I. We need to go now.
Relaying to the hearth, we need to move now.
Well, which direction did he go?
To Guan.
I cannot relay any thoughts, but
Speaking to Guan, where do we need to go? Direction.
Southwest 300 yards.
So I can't relay any instructions as Zinni does not have a phone.
No, this is you are included in this one because this is.
This is the Coda call.
This is
Kodak
we have
being
to
facilitated.
I'm going to use a charm for this. As the crow flies, the Exalt always knows the shortest mundane route between where she is and where she wants to be, even if the path is slightly.
All right, what I will give you is number one, you know the shortest path is a straight line, but you also know a way to approach that will have an interruption via some blasted up bit of crater.
Okay, I also want. Can I combine it with trackless region navigation?
Remind me what that does.
The Exalt understanding of the land is intuitive and surpassed, allowing her to survive and find her way with ease.
Yes.
So I guess this is 2 modes. And what sort of role would I be to just like point in direction and then like Spider-Man in that way?
Finesse navigate.
So yeah, the second I get directions, just boop.
Yeah, Yang is actually so quick about it that it is subtle in its own way. There are people who are looking directly at Yang notice that Yang is just whoop, gone. Anybody else who was looking away for a split second, Yang may as well not have been there.
There are several layers of back and forth between Repose and Saraban, where Repose is gradually handing off all of his notes about stuff that he wanted to discuss over the course of the meeting.
Saraban holds it on, but also says, hopefully you'll get back before that's the case.
So
Saraban actually promises to stall for time.
As fucking Yang has already zooped out, I would say for those of us who are a bit less stealthy, wait a minute or two between
filing off. So give me just one moment.
Again, this right here, us and stepping away is actually a highly difficult check of we need to get up and step off without actually bringing attention to it, because if every member of the hearth gets up and steps away,
that's a very big sign.
That's a sign.
Might be able to intercept them before anyone actually notices someone else.
In response to people in the immediate vicinity of Repose, noticing that Repose is, getting up and preparing to step away, for some reason, just picks up the jug in which he was keeping and, gradually sipping through the egregiously mineralized water from the well he drilled during prep.
Yes,
just
good.
Just turn it over. Last drop falls out. Give it a bit of a tap. Then it clangs empty, and just
getting a refill.
Just going for a refill.
Yeah, I realize that this might actually be the hardest for Milan, but
Milan's in the background. Milan is not out there.
Oh right, Milan's not.
Yeah, Milan didn't get involved at any point in this.
Yes, Milan's not actually a representative. I forgot.
So,
and in turn, setting up that Repose is stepping away from the very important meeting for an extremely mundane and small thing that he feels bad about. So of course he's going to go very quickly out of the way.
Yep.
Just zooming off for self-maintenance.
Sorry, Meats betrayed me.
Since he is standing right next to her, Angler's just going to whisper to Quiet, just keep them occupied.
Got it. And
Oh, and one last thing as he's backpedaling or slightly moving away is looking over to Maw is, you're on protecting duty, something dumb might happen.
got it. Sorry, adjusting map while Cat is attempting to play with monitor without throwing Cat to make squeak noises is a gymnastic ordeal.
Or
Step
you
away
could
a
make
moment
squeak noises.
myself.
But that would be rude to her. Okay, so in it is only a couple of 100 yards, as Sybil and what Guan said, as you are all going in a staggered group. Guan explains very quickly, I'm not sure what's going on, but I see lion dogs, so we need to get over there now. And for those who don't immediately know what that means, you may roll finesse or force occult to figure out what that means.
Cult? You mean it's sagacity?
Yes, my mistake.
Hell are my dice?
So, while that is a thing, lion dogs are guardian spirits, usually associated with heaven, that are either tasked to guard a place or they are enforcers below the usual level of enforcement for heaven's own personal hit squads. They're food lions. They are the guardian spirits and enforcers of heaven. So Wanda's saying, "Hey, I'm seeing heaven's cops." And that's what he says as he is just kind of going like, no, we gotta go. Give me one moment while I get a token for them, because I realize that, again, I make a list of everything I think I need, and I forget something every goddamn time.
I will
Thank
also
you.
be leaving Stalwart Daughter here at the meeting.
Thank you. I was going to say Angler is on rear duty, keeping an eye backwards in case this is some sort of elaborate feint or ploy.
And I should mention, I do have the charm that makes Stalwart Daughter count as
A hearthmate.
a hearthmate, so she is in fact in our codec call.
Yep.
Redway, what's her favorite food? She's a very
One
good
sec.
horse,
Yes.
but like, what is her favorite food?
She's very fond of Honeycrisp apples.
Ooh, okay. We're gonna have to get her a lot of Honeycrisp apples after this. And you know what? I think I actually have one around here. Hold on a second.
Loading screen then.
Yep, almost done. Thank you for your patience.
We're doing the disc change. Hold on.
Okay, so as you are able to,
Oh, that does not work.
need a faster way to get tokens across maps. As as you are running through the the barren land and get up to the lip of the crater, you hear what sounds like two very bellowing, not quite angry, but still very loud and reverberating voices speaking, with two other ones as well, as you crest over the hill and see Flowing River is standing with his back to the group, staring down two immense stone lion dogs that are at least 7 or 8 feet at the shoulder, staring down at him. And as you are approaching, you hear him very quietly speaking in Old Realm, so those who understand Old Realm can understand him saying, "I haven't located him yet, he has not broken through the barrier, that there's no threat as yet to the delegation. We have been able to divert his attention towards other projects, and..." There is a sudden moment where he stands still, turns around as he sees the gaze of the Guardian Lion's dogs passing behind. We're going to get to this sooner rather than later then, he says, clapping his hands together. He just kind of gives a light shrug. You were better at this than I thought you were. I'm going to hold up my hands first. It's not me. Not me. Well, part of it is me. Let's go back to the start. Hello, my name is Fallen River, as you understand it. I'm on deep cover. I've been on deep cover for the past 50 years.
I knew you were a cop.
I have been trying to get evidence on the Executor that Heaven will accept for years. And none of this... Well, I have been trying to get evidence on the Executor that will get past Heaven's courts for years. And I have been trying to make this meeting go as smoothly as possible. Number one, because I want to see it work. Because this is a really good idea. And number two is because he's about to lose his fucking mind, and he has been trying to break my invocation of Serenity. He is trying to break through an invocation of Venus to get into that meeting and start a problem. I ran out to speak with my assistants here, thinking that nobody would see me, but I underestimated you, of course, because, honestly, it had to happen to see sometime. It's happened to everybody else in this region. And if you don't believe me, he snaps his fingers, and he begins to glow blue, and a light symbol of Venus flows over his forehead. Full disclosure, I am a Sidereal. I work with the Bureau of Destiny under the Division of Serenity. It is nice to meet you properly. And I apologize that I could not introduce myself more directly as I would like to do, as that would probably have gotten me killed by the Executor the moment that he knew who I was.
I can't believe we actually have a Sidereal on our side. What the fuck?
This has been in the works for a very long time. Flowing River has been a Sidereal since I introduced him.
This is fucked up. I hate this.
So have you, as probably just this would be clicking in minds.
Yeah, hey folks, why did he know anything about challenge logging? The timelines for him having a chance to visit challenge logging would,
Why did he say that was grass
really
to repose? And also, hey, why is it that everywhere he goes suddenly has all of its conflicts very quietly and reasonably resolved, even when they are very complicated and the players are nowhere near them for months at a time? Why is he introduced as the person who is single-handedly keeping the Inquisitor from starting Holy War? And the moment that he goes over to the Jade Orchid, all of the really complicated problems with the Jade Orchid political structure just stop being a plot point? Because they all just kind of seemingly sort themselves out? It's as if you had somebody helping you out behind the scenes quietly.
Good. I'm seeing he isn't over there, but he would actually be vibing very well with this guy of, okay, somebody up there gets it.
Milan is going to take a step forward.
Yeah, you were actually all in sight. So he's like,
Oh, are you
he's
gonna
addressing the
try
crowd.
and hit us, or
Oh, are you out of your minds? No, you've been the best asset I could have ever hoped for. Although I don't really want to reduce you to just that, but you have no idea how helpful you have been. He actually sees Milan stepping up, and the lion dog takes a step forward as well. Back. Remember, these are the ones we trust. Give him a moment. Looks to Milan. Yeah, can I help you?
I would like to apologize for any inconvenience our group has given you in the past. Is there anything we can do to help you?
He actually kind of looks surprised at that. Well, you are right in that you have made my job more complicated, but in the long run, you've also made it possible. Like I said, right now I can speak freely because of the long story short, with them present, he says, gesturing behind him, and the wards that I have placed down, the Executor's going to be a little too busy to be listening in at the moment. So long story short, the Executor thinks that he's been a lot sneakier than he is. The issue with that is that he also has too many connections in heaven to actually get anywhere in a court over it. It turns out when you're the only person with any authority out here for years and years and years and years, everyone expects you to get corrupt. That's not the issue. Is we all knew that he was up to something, we just didn't know what. And of course, he gestures at himself. Honestly speaking, there are people at that delegation older than I am. I was given the shit job. Nobody wanted to go deal with the guy who was older than the Contagion, who might have gone off the plot a little bit. So I drew the short straw, and I got the undercover mission to get the intelligence, and I'm pretty sure that the expectation was that I was going to die, and somebody else was going to use my intelligence, and then all of you showed up. And all of you made him immediately, beyond expectations, fuck up. He is so much more used to playing cat and mouse with the politics of heaven that he forgot completely how to handle it when somebody just does something into your face and is not afraid of consequences. He could threaten you all he liked. He did threaten you all he liked. He tried to kill you, repeatedly. And it didn't work. He doesn't know how to handle that.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
So he's pacing back and forth at this point. So, honestly, I've been trying to do my best keeping my head under the table because I could have tipped my hand to you. I could have been of more help. I could have been more overt about who I was. And then that would have echoed out. The Executor would have noticed that he's no fool. He's known that there's been some sort of ID or internal agency or overview from the Board of Oversight somewhere around here for a while now. And if I had tipped my hand any moment earlier, I would be. He just draws a thumb over his throat. There is no way in any universe that if he and I got in a hand-to-hand fight, I'd be dead. That is not my job. I help people. I coordinate things. I make things go smoothly. I make sure people don't do bad ideas. I don't kill people. It's an expectation that you go do martial arts. Yes, you gotta enlighten yourself, and you gotta practice, and you gotta train, I don't like hurting people! And Sybil just kind of go on, just elbows her outright.
Obsidian is not voicing this, but is very much just having the thought of, no, this got rules.
I was expecting to have to wrestle something. I'm not really sure how to deal with this.
You might soon. So here's the thing. Here's what's going on. So the Executor, when he heard your meeting, before, we're talking maybe a month and a half ago, when you started drafting those invitations, that echoed up to heaven to an official request to the Board of Serenity that there would be a diplomatic meeting. The stars and... He looks back at Ananun, who are very obviously kind of the subordinates in the situation, but still he's kind of looking to them almost for advice reflexively before... Fuck it. Look, if I get in trouble for explaining too much, then I will take the censorship. The way this worked is that when you started planning, the ramifications of how this would go started getting planned. Nothing is set in stone as heaven would like you to think it is until it is. There is a flip of a switch moment. The loom is always weaving, but the tapestry isn't done until it's set down. If that makes any sense. It's really, really hard to explain. What I'm getting at is that the moment that he gestures to Obsidian, had that idea at all, it was such a powerful idea, and either the maidens themselves or the spiders or however things get coordinated as to what will happen, then that's not my division. Trust me, that's not my division. I do not want it to be my division. That is a great way to get an early burnout. They all realized that this was going to be a big deal. And he kind of gestures over to the horizon towards the nail where the big crowd of tents are. And as you can see, big deal. We didn't actually have all that much to do with that. We coalesced and kind of greased some of the wheels a little bit in our department because we wanted to see this region stabilized and we wanted to see a defense against the creatures of darkness that are in this area. But most of that was you. Most of that was all of you doing this. And here's the thing. The Executor may be an open secret in heaven. He may be openly known as up to something. He's hardly the only one of my coworkers who has that. It's a matter of identifying the skeleton in the closet and then using it. And then hoping you get a judge that is actually willing to do anything about it. But I digress.
Okay, vibe check with the Hearth. Is anyone okay with Milan just dropping... Yeah, he's allied himself with Ruby Tyrant.
I mean, if Flo doesn't already know that by way of
probably knows
fate blind spots, then yeah, let him know.
Okay, yeah. So Milan's just going to in casually with his constant talking. Is right. Yeah, the alliance with the Abyssal or Infernal.
Abyssal. Well, it was both actually.
Right, the alliance with the Abyssal and Infernal.
Oh my god, it was direct.
One of them's dead.
No, we figured that much out. There was a hole, and that suddenly filled in, and we figured that something happened. But no, you're telling me he's working directly and knowingly.
Oh, I'm sure he's planning on backstabbing him, but yeah, openly, directly.
Right. That was my operating hypothesis. To hear that as the case... He actually stops for a moment. Alright, I realize this is a really big question. Would you be willing to serve as an eyewitness in a court case about this at some point?
Yes.
Cool.
Yes, I would.
Don't know if and when that will happen. He may end up making us kill him, but I might have to give you an invitation through the gates at some point if this goes up to an actual court we can trust. Back to the explanation. What he has, a lot more than me, is he has more connections in heaven. A lot more. He's been around for centuries. He knows all of the corrupt bureaucrats. He knows all of the ways you can trick the paperwork. He knows all the ways you can file certain things and have it not be seen for too late. He's been out here so long. No one else knows this place like him. And part of his job security is relying on that is because he knows that if anybody decided to have something accidentally happen to him, who knows what kind of things he's got dangling over this region, number one. Number two is that he's the only one with a complete list of the threats and the long-term actual intended things to happen to this region, by design. That's supposed to be his job. There's not supposed to be only one of him out here. But, well, let's just say that, business in heaven gets complicated sometimes. Let's leave it at that.
Underfunded. Got it.
He very much is going and pacing and not saying it out loud to confirm with you, but very much not correcting you. Like, I'm not allowed to say that we need more people because that would make heaven look bad, but oh my god, we need people. But he is now kind of pacing a little frantically. So what is going on here is when he heard it, there was a filing to the Ministry of Serenity that there was going to be some sort of grand diplomatic meeting, and there was going to be a convocation on whether or not it should go through. Because again, there are many bureaucracies in heaven, there are many gods in heaven, and, well, I will say this. The contagion is still felt in heaven. there are a lot of gods and a lot of seats that should be overlooking this region. That would be overlooking this region if the gods in charge had not been killed by the contagion. And the process of getting those seats filled is something that was open for debate in terms of its efficacy. Pacing again, nervously, as Ananu are just kind of glancing, very kind of granite sliding on granite, looking at each other before looking back out towards you as guardians. So, whether or not this succeeded was in certain part in your hands, because I don't have time for a full metaphysical explanation. We give input, we give guidance, we give what's easier. We don't dictate. Normally. He got it in his mind to dictate. He made his requests that it was not in the long-term interests of this place for a diplomatic convocation of the Alliance to actually succeed. He said it was too early. He said it was not going to be something that was good. He said that in his personal opinion that it would fall apart faster than he would think it would be any reasonable way of setting it up.
Because the convocation is an alliance against him.
Yes, but no one could prove that. You could say that, but you would have to prove it, because then he would drag you to court for slander, and if you don't have evidence, then you're going to have your pantsuit off.
Just kind of looks at Obsidian.
Shrugs.
So, the thing that I was hoping he would not do, but it ended up that he did end up doing, is that when he was denied, when his motion was denied, and we put our faith behind this convocation as, at minimum, a temporary measure to finish this thing and then deal with all of the gesticulates. He is very obviously... This is very different from the river that you, Repose in particular, has spoken with, who's usually maintained fairly composed except when drunk. He is very clearly having his nerves and anxiety bust through his usual mask of passivity and professionality, and I'm very good at this. It's just... This is the 11th hour, everything is on fire, and he is just freaking out. So what I did was I was afraid, I didn't think he would be dumb enough or desperate enough, but I was afraid that he would come to the convocation himself. Because here's the thing. Any of the creatures of darkness that they were aware of would not actually make a full concerted attack on this convocation. Why? Because it would prove that it needs to exist. Think about it. What if one of the Abyssals walks up and just tries to kill all of you, and it doesn't work? Or if it does work, then the survivors get back up and go, you know what, that just proved that point. And we're going to all be together as a military alliance, and the first thing we do is we hunt that guy down and we kill him.
Repose is going to break from his stillness and silence, just very slightly raise hand.
Yes, yeah. And Repose, I do really need to apologize.
Raise of hand, raise of eyebrow. One of?
So... We have reason to believe that it is just primarily the one Abyssal, but we do not know if there are more than one operative. There have been so many snarls in the Loom of Fate. We don't know how much of that was the Infernal, that in hindsight, that is the official term that we are using for this new manifestation of the Solar Shards. It's in work in progress. Everything's on fire. There's a whole committee about it, and they're going to be spending the next decade talking about it. Well, I'm sure that everything burns around. But I can say that because I'm a covert operative on the ground, and I'm not up in the diplomacy meetings right now because I'm actually doing work. I'm fine. So, where was I? Hedging my bets. In case there is more than one of them, we do know concretely that the Weaver upon the Loom of Flesh is giving material support to the one present. We have that confirmed. We have an intercepted communication about that. That is one of the few things the Executor actually bothered to forward openly to us before starting to go off the grid in terms of communications entirely. Now, as I was...
While this is going on, vibe checking back in with Stalwart Daughter... Do we have a positive or negative nay? Horse nay. How are the vibes?
Tense, but good. It is more like, still going good, but something feels a little off.
Cool. Just checking in.
Flowing River just is like now massaging his temples with like middle finger and thumb. So the long story short is he's lost his mind and he's trying to kill everyone there, because if the Abyssal does it, then everybody's gonna raise their swords and go charging after the darkness. If an agent of heaven strikes it with a plague, let's say, then it's a sign from heaven to not do that, isn't it? If mysteriously everybody who shows up at this convocation all gets some sort of horrific, murderous, awful disease and drops dead, that's a pretty good sign most of the time that heaven doesn't want you to do that. And I was hoping that he would not be desperate enough to try and actually go and do that. But I'm also not a fool, so before this, I set down a ward in the name of Venus that no one could commit violence against each other. I used as broad a spectrum of the term of violence as I could possibly file paperwork for. I spent weeks on edge cases. And he's still trying to break through them. Right now, I don't know how much time we have. We have time. I don't know where he is. But I know he's trying to punch through that metaphysical barrier. And the fact that he's doing so, rather than try to sneak under it, is telling me that he's not going to be subtle about it when he actually goes in and he tries to do something about this. I thought he was going to be going in disguise and just starting to spread the plague, and then actually, just slipping out and then letting the disease handle it. I think he's actually just kind of lost his mind because he realizes he's cornered, and now he just wants to kill as many people on the way out and then maybe run. I don't know. Like, this is...
Team?
He's just kind of stammering at this point. It's just like, when I got this assignment, I thought all I had to do was make sure a maniac didn't do a holy war. And then I got the actual news of what I was actually gonna do, and I've been stuck here ever since. I need so much help.
Forward, hand on the shoulder, comforting hand on the shoulder. Turn to the rest of the team. We've got a spider to find.
I'm glad I didn't have to hit him.
Repose is going to project soft, deep, comforting earth vibes into the ground. Then serenely face forward, reach respectful distance, bow slowly, wait.
The lion dog bows its head very slightly back before raising unbreaking eye contact.
And just in the simplest of old realm, just good cat. Over to on, repeat the process.
There is, to everyone else, there is the strangest sensation of, it is an impassive statue. But there is this moment where you are certain that there is conscious effort in remaining an impassive stone statue rather than reacting to whatever it was Repose just said, of just very much awe.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't bowing but keeping eye contact an insult?
That was not the intention of so.
Okay.
So, like, if that would be an insult, then it would actually have broken eye contact. I was thinking of just they are on vigilance.
Yes.
So. An speaks up briefly. Master River, what about... And the eyes track over to Guan and Sybil, and as makes eye contact with Guan, Obsidian and Angler, being the closest aside from Old Man, can see just reflexively out of one sleeve there is now a moon silver knife in Guan's hand. He doesn't move, but there's just immediately just like if you even just not even on his face, just the simple action of if you even fucking think about it. River holds up his hands. No need for that. No need for that. Please put that away. I know who you are. I know nothing to do with you. Frankly speaking, when I saw you coming over the hill, I thought I was about to have my head torn off. Juan very simply, as he pockets it back in a robe. Depending on what you said, you would have. Sybil shrugs. Come on, I told you. It's just the ones who come hunting for us who are bad. There's the ones who are just trying their best. It's like you and I. Juan just grumbling and mumbling to himself.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, so no. I was you first.
Angler is going to use wind-carried words to Flowing River and ask, are there any others of you in the area that we should know about from heaven?
If you can tell us. If you cannot, that is
like
fine.
a shake of the head, and then a shake of the head again. In Obsidian's, no, really. They minimized the footprint they had. It's just us.
Okay.
This was not expected or intended to elevate. This was supposed to be a covert mission where I would get the evidence, we would file it in the proper chambers, we would go through the usual procedures, because if we try and jump him, then he's a lot better than that than most of us these days.
Okay, if he's trying to brute force a plague or something onto this, then I want to throw some thinking dice of what Milan thinks what kind of range he would have to be at.
Finesse, sagacity. Finesse, actually, roll me 2 sets of dice. Finesse, sagacity, and finesse empathy.
Okay. And I will be throwing excellencies at both.
Would turn to Yang and be like, How easy do you think you could cure a god plague?
8 on sagacity, 6 on embassy.
And Yang, roll me finesse sagacity as well, because that's now where medicine lives. Just to think about it.
Let me think about this.
Think you got a miracle in the chamber?
Can I use... I'm trying to look at my charms. I have flawless diagnosis technique. Can I use that to like hypothesize of like what the fuck would you even do to kill someone?
Yes.
All right. So finesse sagacity.
That number one, it depends on. Okay, so how mad are the gods? Like, can you cure a divine plague? What god? And how mad? Number two, what is the point of the plague? As it sounds like this is a point of a plague is being to be a visible looking attempt from heaven to curse an idea. It is going to be spectacularly visible. It is going to be grotesque. It is going to be the nastiest way to die that this guy can think of and brew up on a short notice, or maybe even medium-term notice. So it would be very difficult, but it would also presumably have some method of being cured or fought against to be able to be pulled back if someone, air quotes, repents. Because one of the chambers of one of the principles of a divine plague that is most useful for that is the plague gods don't really like doing it. You usually have to threaten them with violence into doing it. They can cure plagues. They usually use that as either a part of a protection racket when threatened to do so, or as a way of seeming beneficent or making the political message point of a plague much more clear by isolating it to specific people to die. So, it can't be uncurable by definition. It's a matter of, do you feel lucky? Do you feel like you have miracles?
Maybe.
Well, that's not nothing.
Solid maybe.
Okay, so the sagacity roll for Milan is so... If this is a direct metaphysical assault via just occult energy and blasting it with essence, it's got to be relatively close by, or relayed through a dragon line. And considering that there's not any sort of major ecological massive fuck-ups going on and that the dragon lines around here are rather sparse, probably not the case. Now, if this is something that he's doing bureaucratically to try and undo the permit for no violence allowed and say, what if I file an injunction to say violence maybe? What if I say, well, a little of violence, just the one violence? Then he could be doing that wherever he could be getting a channel back up to heaven for paperwork.
Oh. Milan wants to file a report towards heaven.
Yeah. Would you bring this up with River, or?
Yes. Oh, so thinking this out, if he's trying to do this with essence or just trying to funnel power into this, that's going to be very noticeable. Any sorcerer is going to be able to see him trying to blow through your ward. So I'm betting, trying to go through the channels to get your ward revoked, or perhaps an injunction put on it.
I don't have time to get to one of the open gates and get back there and... Wait, hang on. Neither would he... Unless he's there. In which case, that means he can't be in here in person to do it. That means, no, he has to be down here. He has to be down here if he wants to deliver the plague himself. So he has to be doing it... River is just, like, actually stops mid-sentence and is thinking about the ramifications of that.
Now, what if someone files a request for immediate audit on this?
So I need to tell you something. This is a wonderful idea, brilliant idea. I really hope it works, but you need to understand something. The word immediate and the word heaven might as well be opposites. You were a minister in the Thousand Scales, yes?
Aye.
Okay, you know how slow the bureaucracy gets when you have bureaucrats that are 300 years old, yes?
Aye.
The oldest sidereal is almost 5,000 years old. Sybil just, in the background, just goes, fuck.
It's worse? Oh, man.
All right, Milan is going to try to think, what has he done? What is the most brute force method he's done to try and push something through in the Thousand Scales, and then do that and see if that could apply here.
Force embassy with a stunt.
Six successes.
Well, the most brute force thing you've ever done is literally kick the door down to an office via blast of air. To, like, rather than go through the usual channels, you knew who it would end up on the desk of, and you literally blew the door down and showed up and put the paper on the desk and said, "You figure it out," and left. Now, this got you in trouble, but it also got the paper in front of the right person.
And you said that there's likely not a gate to heaven near... Is there a gate to heaven nearby?
Well, not one we can use.
Damn. Okay, so I can't do the door kicking method.
No, no, you wouldn't be able to do the door kicking method even if it was available, trust me.
I have a suggestion in principle and abstract here. That probably, definitely, at least once, after which Milan would have quickly learned to never do this again. He thought, wow, wait, like, generationally, I am very close to the Empress. Why don't I just try to directly appeal to our monarch and go around all the formalities and systems?
Yeah. Why don't I just talk to Great-Grandma? Oh, no.
Oh, guess who's watching? Looks down the corridor to the sun,
And,
looks the other way to the moon.
Directly standing next to one of Saul's
we are in a conjunction between Sol and Luna and several of the planets.
I've got one of my Yakuman forms that I've been using. Maybe we could just... Maybe I could... Because it doesn't, like, have any restrictions on it, as far as I can tell. Could I just, like...
like, River actually yells out loud, Wait!
Yeah, what? Volunteer work. Don't worry about it. Anyways, what if we just send it to their desk?
Milan actually runs up and snatches it out of your hands. Can I borrow this?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
River actually runs up. You have no idea how useful this is about to be. I have an idea. Who do you want to talk to? Anybody. Name anybody.
Yes! Milan is going to look at Sol, look at Luna, back to River, and wiggle eyebrows.
River would actually look over to Repose.
Well, dramatic throwing off a vest.
Time to pray.
Okay, I said anybody and you picked anybody. Alright, let's go. Let's see if this gets us all killed. Alright.
Okay. I am going to use a charm, Deft Official's Way. Spend 1 mote while navigating bureaucracy. Exalt chooses following effect to apply to leadership okay, this is for adventure, but once per scene, make a second. Ignore the results of cutting corners once per scene.
Yes, that is necessary for this. I will also say, hey, everybody who has a sheet that has anything to do with anything that might help here, all hands on deck. This is going to be a very difficult roll. This is 10 minimum, and anything above that to get effective results.
Who are you praying to exactly?
Sol Invictus, the unconquered sun.
Milan's going to the top.
Can I use Archive Mind Mentality to recall the ritual I did to make a gauntlet by accident and
yes,
and like cover the exact circumstances, modify it to shoot a message up at someone?
You can remember the exact circumstances that got Luna's attention. Yes.
All right. Well, I guess I'll set it up again. Give me a piece of paper and I'll draw a symbol.
Yeah, like River pulls out a parchment from inside the cloak and just gives it okay. Anybody else? Wait, turns to Sybil. Are you on speaking? Not really. He doesn't do speaking. Like, I don't know how much you know. Like, we don't talk. We don't really talk. He's kind of distant, honestly. But like, if you need me to be like a beacon or like something to look down on, I can do that for you.
Give me a second. I am looking through my charms.
Gotten into stance and started allowing essence to flow, and he's performing the long introduction, starting with himself and then proceeding back indefinitely through the line of those who came before him and fought and died in service of the sun and in defense of the world.
Alright, force, presence, or performance, whichever is higher with the stun.
Oh wait, is this the big roll?
No, this is...
this will be assist.
This is an assist roll. The primary actor is going to be Milan.
Okay.
But this is probably the most important assist roll, for a reason I will get to shortly. So whatever resources you have, dump them on this one for repose.
Force, you said?
Yeah, unless you can justify fortitude or finesse. Fortitude could work as well. Finesse either way. Yeah, whatever attribute you want to justify using.
Well, it's Force works out well as well here, since then I can tag in Cat's puffed tail.
You know, for picking it based on the joke, we've gotten a lot of use out of that.
So, excellence and Cat's puffed
Did
tail.
I expect the party to ring up Soul this session? I didn't expect them to do that this game!
Okay,
That,
so
like-
I'm
so, like-
actually...
from the normal perspective of everyone here proposes, like, gearing up and doing the formalities of saying bunch of important priest words. Meanwhile, from the two lion dogs present here, they entirely intuitively understand the vibe of going up to the gates of the Golden Palace and scratching at the door and meowing out various virtuous things you have done to demand attention and get the fucking door open so you can go get a snack.
Look at this cool dead bird I got you. It's got skeletons on it. Do you know how many of us died for you? Yeah. God, yeah. Go right ahead. Okay. That is 10 successes with double nines. So that is 11 dice to Milan, which is a cap at 10, which I'm gonna say that's 5 bonus successes to Milan. Okay. I'm going to make this a teamwork roll that converts successes because it's Repose doing the religious ceremony. Other people can contribute dice.
Okay, yeah. What would I do to set up a ritual ground using that thing of like?
Okay, can I?
Sagacity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Go on, newbie.
So, what exactly are we getting in touch with Sol Invictus for?
Okay, so what I'm actually thinking is maybe not Sol Invictus, but Saturn directly. Because if we go to the Executor's boss's boss, that might have the most effect.
Technically speaking, Sol is everyone's boss and could talk to Saturn as well.
Okay, yeah. So in that case, I'm going to the
You are going to the Regent of Reality. You are going to the King of Creation, the Unconquered, the guy whose job it is to smash creatures of darkness. And saying, hey, the CIA...
Going to Sol to request an appointment with Saturn.
If anyone has ever seen Pursuit of Happiness, I'm going up to the top list of Pac Bell and calling the CEO.
Yep.
All right.
I got an idea. Oh, go ahead, newbie.
I have a charm to commit, and Darren, you can choose to adjust this in any way you want.
Mm-hmm.
I want to use the perfect bargain.
Yes!
Commit one mote during a Commit one mote for the duration of negotiations. When bartering or negotiating, making a purchase, or forging a peace treaty, the difficulty of any social rolls cannot rise above 5. Now, I realize that would kind of really neuter the skill check here. That's up to you. But
I will say that the difficulty is still 10, but the threshold for the bonuses I have in mind is lowered by 5 starting.
Okay.
So success minimum will now be much larger than it was before.
That is the best I have for this kind of social interaction.
So, narratively speaking, in terms of perfect bargain, is you know exactly what people want, right?
The Exalt, regardless of her familiarity with her surroundings, is always at home in a market or among traders. It doesn't actually...
Okay.
I think this is... Yes, it is exactly what they want. I don't have the set. So, for those who are unaware...
You don't have the other one.
There are 2 sets to this, which is... and I thought it would be funny to play Obsidian this way. Obsidian has the perfect bargain, he does not have the perfect price.
Right. Okay, so narratively speaking, you're basically gone, and you are basically just intuitively looking over the wording of the paperwork that Milan is drafting as this idea and just go, no, not that one. And then you very slightly tweak the wording, and you yourself could not explain why on earth you know that word is more important, but you know it is. Just, you have a gut check feeling that, no. You use this adjective instead. meanwhile, Yang, if you want to contribute with an assist roll, that would be finesse sagacity, with a stunt to try and extrapolate your understanding of what happened with the gauntlets to assist.
Man, I have no fucking clue.
Yeah, you kind of sit there and you're like, honestly,
I can't do that if I wanted to.
That was entirely outside of your control, is what you realize. It's like, oh, well, I don't know. Angler
and pom-poms.
Angler and Old Man, do you have ideas of how to contribute?
Yes. Angler would like to use sense writing technique with Milan to allow Milan to use Old Tongue to talk to the sun, and also, without telling Milan, be there to absorb some of the excess energy coming from the sun if the sun talks back, because we are lowly mortals, and that's boss, man.
I don't really honestly know.
Alright. So, what role would that be for you, Angler?
Integrity?
Yeah.
Do I have an integrity mastery? I bet. Yeah, darn right I do. Doesn't matter. Okay. Wow. Cool. 4 extra dice.
Alright, so that's a total of 6 extra dice for Milan and 5 extra successes.
Alright.
And Sybil cracks her knuckles for a moment. Alright. Walks up past Guan, between Anun. Let's give him something to focus on to get his eyes in the right place, can we? She says, cracking her knuckles, and let's see. So she just immediately begins to burn essence, and not for any particular purpose. She's just flaring her anima. And as her anima begins to flare golden, it begins to take on its iconic shape around her, as the armor around her that you've seen before expands across her body, plates her entire self, and expands backwards behind her into a 15-foot-tall war strider that is made of solid light, that is just standing behind her, mimicking her moves as she is putting her hands together, and as it puts its hands together in prayer, as the light shines straight up into the sky, clean up. And she looks up. Hey, boss! The little cousins want to talk to you! And she will be rolling presence, force plus presence as her contribution to your dice pool. Yeah, it's still this. Oh, it's D20. Hang on, nope.
Yeah, hang on a sec.
That is not how solar.
I mean, solars are very powerful, but
not that powerful. All right, you are now at dice cap of 10 dice and 5 successes.
Yeah, so I've rammed the cap of 20 dice per roll. All right, so here's what I've got. I have 5 out of successes from repose. I've got a total of 10 additional dice from all the additions. I ate some food last session, so that gives me double 9s.
Yep.
Had a snack.
and
Obsidian has reduced the difficulty of the bonus effects. And I
want to write this down next to the roll as well.
Yes. And I've used Deft Official's ways to ignore the penalties of cutting corners once per scene.
Yeah. I would assume that anything going on here, being a sidereal, our friend Blue could actually, they don't see the war strider showing up at the council.
This is, again, multiple hundreds of yards away, and he has already basically mentioned that there is a sidereal bullshit field to let you talk secretly here.
Okay.
You could actually probably see, you could probably feel it straining under, solar, but it is maintaining the, no, nobody look over here.
Okay, that is 14
Nine.
successes. No, not double nines. Not reroll nines. Double nines. Okay, so it's 10 without the bonus successes.
Yep. And 5 auto successes, so 15.
15.
Bonuses.
Bonuses?
Minus 5 to so that is effectively 20 on terms of the bonuses that it gets you. And ignore the penalties of cutting corners.
At this point, Soul receives an Xbox Live text message.
Give me 1 second to switch to music that I've been wanting a place to find, but haven't had a good opportunity to use. As you are writing down this final note and snap your fingers and cast it into Sybil's anima as it flies upwards like an ember in a flame rising towards the dawn. And you just feel a sudden gut seizing. Just your entire body collapses as your muscles seize and your entire being is seen as everyone, including Ah and Un, and Flowing River, and Guan, and Sybil, are just collapse to their knees reflexively under the sheer pressure of the glance your way. As Moat basks in the warmth of the gaze of the unconquered sun.
Oh, that's a religious epiphany.
A moment that feels like 10,000 years as you are completely and utterly down through your souls into your exaltations, into your past lives. Every single fucking piece of you is observed and known and examined and taken apart and put back together and utterly comprehended. The note itself, honestly, was almost a formality compared to this gaze. It is the most thorough, absolute knowing that you can even conceive of happening. As the Hearth looks around, Sybil is just kind of tremoring. It is the first time you have seen her look afraid, while Sun is just tears are streaming down his face uncontrollably as he is shaking. As River is just sitting completely still in a pose of total supplication towards the ultimate ruler of reality, or towards his ultimate boss. It's like this man who works in heaven, who may have seen Soul from a great distance away, is just completely unable to do anything but pray under the feeling of a simple glance. And then there is a moment of almost a blink as the gaze shifts away to the absolute corner of the eye, where now you can feel that it is still aware of you, but it is not a direct look. And Milan, in his very soul, does not hear the words. He does not hear it, he does not think it. He's just aware. This is when you talk.
I'm sorry to bother you at this moment. Right now, the executor of the Chosen of Endings who is interested with the 100 Kingdoms, has decided to break his duties and obligations and is attempting to murder countless people in the name of petty selfishness.
Moat, as Milan is like head on the ground praying, feels a tap on the hand as Moat is tapping, and kind of gives a blink gently. Again, the only creature here able to move freely. And then, just from the gaze alone, as the gentle scratch sketches out a circle and some bloody lines. Moat is basically going, mention the abyssal, mention...
Yes. He has allied himself not only with the abyssals, but the infernals, and has brought harm. He has brought harm to countless people, and he seeks to overstep his bounds and interfere with Venus's works here on this day.
There is, again, the sheer psychic pressure of even the transient attention of the sun weighing down on you, and for a moment, repose specifically in his bones feels a vibration, and not one of his own doing, not one from the earth, one from the sheer weight upon him, like settling upon his shoulders and his back and his legs, is trembling, trying to weigh under the weight of the sun, before feeling that pressure mold around, flowing across the back, resting under the chest and lifting up and pulling repose to his feet to stand. To stand and witness as behind you you can feel the sun through the chasm warm on your back, and on the horizon, as the stars are beginning to be visible in the sky, you see a purple wandering star flare brightly, like a murderous, glimmering amethyst.
Someone's about to be fired.
A mortifying ordeal being seen.
There is another period of possibly moments and possibly an eternity. You can't even measure it in your heartbeats, as the silence between them is now palpable and seems to go forever. Until finally, mercifully, you are able to breathe in again and feel control of your body coming back again, as the sunlight becomes sunlight once more. Holy shit, is all that Guan is able to say.
Milan is going to make a fortitude physique roll to stand up.
Yeah, everyone is going to have to, actually, now that you say it.
Milan have to, since I sucked away some of that juice.
Sucking away the juice is how that repose was able to be assisted directly without getting crunched.
Fair. Okay.
From the floor, Milan's going to say, I'm going to take a nap right now. Wake me up in time for the rest of the meeting.
Moat lays down on top of Milan's back. Angler is exhausted but is able to stand up, while Repose has to lean on the staff just to stay standing. not out of weakness, but out of just sheer nervous tremors of wanting to collapse and process what just happened.
Not yet.
Where are we rolling again?
Physique, fortitude physique to see if you could stand up after getting crunched by the sight of the sun.
Yang's just gonna stay on the floor.
Yeah, Yang is just vibing next to Guan, who is just kind of on the ground and is remaining on the ground.
So that's why he's a big deal. Huh.
That's why he stays up there and we stay down here.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I understand why he does that now.
That will, and again, of all the people who are not Repose or Sybil and Guan, probably Yang is intimately familiar via the first brush with this. That was just like the equivalent of you casting your gaze across a rock on the ground without fixing on it very long. That was the entire effort the sun put into that. Was just kind of like the casual notice of, oh, a rock, and then moving on. And that nearly crushed your body.
But brother, why does the lamp friend not simply come down here and fix all of the problems?
It's actually a good thing that the lamp friend stays up there and I now fully understand.
Lamp friend
why-
knows
Yang on the ground, bones
friend.
atomized. I see.
That's quite practical
Ow,
of you,
my
actually, to
bones.
stay up there and not down here.
How does the surrounding, like, grass and such look?
Actually. So I rolled for which of the Incarna would have most of a direct impact on the local environment. I got Saturn! It's all dead. It is all immediately dead. Every single tiny sprig of grass and lichen that had been making its way through this part of the area is fucking dust.
That's unfortunate.
We're gonna have to fix that later.
I'll fix it later.
Or maybe we can have Jimbus come over and help out.
Yeah, Jimbus is here.
Jimbus has yet to arrive.
Well, we can draw arrows to this spot for Jimbus.
The countdown to Jimbus approaching remains on the UI.
Is actually very close. You can see on the horizon.
We have to solve this before Jimbus gets here.
I think at this point, those of us who can walk should probably go rejoin the meeting.
So
Obsidian
then,
wobbles back over to the meeting.
nephew. I take it all this has been of use?
Just complete failure to speak. Just. Thank you. I am amazed. That worked. I should stop being amazed. How does this... No, wait. Oh my god, that's how. He actually is looking up at the conjunction. That's how. That's how. Every time we ask. Every time. Seems that he's all lost in his own little world right now.
We just stumble over and shake him a little bit. Now is not the time to get lost. We have to get back to the meeting. You need to get back to the meeting.
Yeah, yes, yeah. Yes, of course. Maintain.
Can Obsidian just pick up River and start carrying him back?
Yes, and he would
recover.
actually not. He would not even move, or he would not even do anything.
You can recover on the way back, as long as you walk in on your own.
Everyone has received like a full day's tan.
Yeah, no, like everyone is sunburned, actually. An and Un will be maintaining the perimeter, and the rest of the group will be going back.
Milan is with what energy he's canned, rubbing through his pockets, grabbing a wooden mask. Oh, I'm gonna get yelled at. But she told me I need to communicate more. Milan's gonna be making a phone call during all this.
I'm actually going to also say, hey, for Yang in specific, your pack that you, the pouch that you keep the Yakuman or wait, no, you're wearing it right now, right? The Yakuman mask?
It feels that was just Yakuman during all that.
It feels heavier on your face all of a sudden.
That's fucking weird. God, I hope a single fucking divine glance didn't just legitimize this stupid experiment I'm doing.
Would you take off mask and examine, or leave on?
I'm gonna take it off and look at it, yeah.
There's orichalcum threading through the wood now.
That is happening. Just gonna put that back on and get back and start walking home to the party. Not gonna think about that right now. There are things to do. How does that keep happening? Fucking hate science.
And hang on, let me put him back. There we go. Would probably actually be off to the side a little bit. So when you return to the meeting, it seems that, again, a lot of the time had been taken up by Steel-Tearing Bureaucrat going over the specific legal details, and then Cerebon talking about the new cultural expectations and travel stuff of the Trident River Valley and its own ways of like, hey, we're in a kind of vulnerable spot, we are going to need more help, but we're going to need more support later, and we can support you in our own. Basically, again, as Cerebon had promised, had been stalling for time. And when you get back,
as part of the notes that Repose had handed off to Cerebon, basically picture like a Crusader Kings customize your culture UI checklist that has been set out. All right, let us properly have said out loud which customs each of us follow, so that no one gets caught off guard when they walk from one town to another.
Mm-hmm. And, let's see.
Let us agree to terms that can be used to describe all of these things.
Let us see if the three people that would be most perspective of this notice anything. Alright, so neither Bismuth or Koi give you any look in your direction, but when you come back, Shea Khan has gone from the just kind of standing at attention pose behind the satrap to unable to stop visibly staring at all of you. No one else really seems to notice that, but the mask is just fixated on all of you and unmoving, just visibly like, what?
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Extremely, I don't know what you did, and I don't know if I want to know what you did, but I noticed that you just did something.
The vibes are suddenly very intense, and I'm not entirely sure why.
We'll
Somebody
talk about
fucking
it
set up
later.
it was like somebody, I was like hearing, like, I was in the middle of a symphony, and then somebody set up a fucking choir concert over the hill. What the hell just happened?
Don't worry about it, says Angler, as he is literally steaming from all the heat.
But yeah, if Repose wanted to do the religious discussion, now is a good time, as the circle has done one circle around.
Well, you will kind of shuffle on in. And can begin with... I have good news. Choosing the very specific
Religious.
turn of words for it. Big good news, everyone.
Yes. If all eyes are on Repose at this point.
One of the things, which I believe that we owe it all, most agree to dislike, has taken offense to our gathering here in good order and carrying on for this first day. With appropriate dignity and grace befitting our respective stations. At this moment, they carry on out there somewhere, brandishing stick vaguely toward the horizon, making some attempt to lay siege to the good atmosphere which we have cultivated here thus far.
There's a reflexive bristling from a couple of people.
Throughout this, he is choosing the words to down. He is talking about this impending threat the way he would, just being like, "Ah, yeah, your garden has like, so this is like the ghost of an individual snail that you stepped on."
Yeah. But still, just kind of like, vibes is rancid. Get him.
You got like the tiny bad vibes, just a couple of worms. If the worms are biting at the wood, that means it's good wood. That you didn't coat properly to keep the worms off. You need to paint this. And yeah, just lead into that with, as described when he put the idea forth to the satrap, that he is going to act like he is making a dramatic reveal of this idea, but has forewarned everyone who is, qualified to appreciate the subject at hand. That all of us gathered here live in what is, at least in the present era, one of heaven's blind spots.
That actually gets a lot of genuine surprise from the non-religious folk in the audience. The religious ones were kind of like, kind of figured, but hadn't been sure. Everyone else is just like, what the fuck?
And, kind of a little bit of rambling about, his travels and appealing to the good things that he has to say about all of the places that he has been and the things he has done for them over the years. And from this, he is now able to, as a professional, put forth the conclusion that on the shining streets of the city in the sky, the offices relating to our affairs have for some time been tragically understaffed.
Repose actually, out of the corner of the eye, sees flowing river going from kind of curious as to where this is going to, oh, holy shit. Just like a visible flicker across the face of, man, I'm glad this has already been a topic we broached, because this was about to get real interesting from my perspective.
Hey, that thing you were worrying about a lot recently. Don't
Just,
worry about it.
Okay, you were planning on this. Okay, this Man, I'm glad I don't have to keep fucking hiding that.
You take your problems and you stack them on the rock. The rock will hold them. And then from there, probably segue into invoking some manner of, Shayakon doesn't need to fully manifest and materialize in order to make the point, but just put forth some manner of omen to demonstrate their presence.
Probably just flickering across every jade or item in the area across the 5 colors. Or like the pillar itself has a flicker of the 5 jade colorations.
Turn on the mood lights
Mm-hmm.
on the colossal pillar.
Meet at the colossal pillar of rust.
Of vibes and rust.
And that, yes,
Shakon's Technicolor dream pillar.
he has taken the opportunity to reintroduce a respected name of a respected era who, like too many of us, has found themselves far from what they once called home. And you carry on like that for a bit, put forth into the general atmosphere the parallelism here of we have someone who there is someone here who you all are used to thinking of as a foreigner and an invader, but they are just as much a refugee and an exile if they are out here with us. And it's up to us to decide whether we are going to keep them at arm's length or bring them in and make them part of how we do things.
Mm-hmm.
Then from that to the formalities of, he has introduced Shayakon as an overseer of this place and
god of deterrence and of the nail.
God of the threat of war that maintains peace.
The sword in its
the
sheath.
sword's not drawn.
Which
The
makes
unkind words unspoken.
the satrap is smiling very quietly at this, and everybody else is just kind of nodding along with the logic, and other priests from other things begin to step forward and petition much smaller roles, or just inquiries as to like, okay, so how high are we shooting here? And then a general consensus is beginning to discuss among themselves among that. It becomes clear that it is its own discussion, and they kind of side off to the side, not out of the complete political discussion, but it is clear this is a parallel, but also very in-depth conversation while everybody else is working out the details of the compact. So,
And repose will. So one last point to have on the table here. He will note that there is one qualified and distinguished peer of our craft who, regrettably, is absent from the day's events. And in order to be appropriately fair and even-handed, he's going to internally, the fact that he did not separately invite Azar here and is himself existing in this ambiguous status of being here for the vigil and also for Trident River, whichever is more convenient at the moment. He's going to float the idea of inviting representatives from all of the sects present here to a follow-up meeting
at the vigil
town, so that his respected master and any others of any rank who for whatever good reasons we often have, were not able to attend this event, to still have their voices heard in the ongoing process the great work that begins this day and continues.
The Inquisitor is very much smiling, is like, sports.
And will continue into the ages yet to come. Sports.
Sports.
Let's do a sports. Next year, not this one. This one's busy. Next year, though, sports.
The schedule's
There's a
kinda
lot
messed up.
happening this year, actually.
This year's already almost over. It's a bit late to declare that next one, though.
Yep.
Let's get like one calibration between this and that. At least. Sports, though. And that won't be much of what Repose has to say.
Alright, as mentioned in the side, Milan called his grandmother Vanif and informed on what just happened, and Vanif passed out cold, like the moment you said anything about. So Sol Invictus looked at me and just, before the rest of the sentence was done, passed out. Just cold.
Now, I did preface it by bringing up, remember the time I decided to go straight to,
That would make her pass out even harder, is that she would realize what you were doing to make that happen.
Okay, alright, who are you comparing?
Who did you go to? The sun. Thump!
No!
So yeah, like, there is, like, very much, response pending on unconsciousness via sheer overload resolving itself. But the rest of the deliberative meeting would be actually pretty smooth now that you got the sheer blowout that you did, and the Executor is extremely no longer having this at the top of his priority list. The priority list has suddenly changed, and the number one item is fucking run. Just get out. Scram, skedoodle, go to ground. Get not seen. So, like, the rest of the meeting would go pretty well, to the point where, as the general discussion is continuing, it is almost imperceptible at first. But the weather pattern changes, and you look over, and Jimbus has arrived at the general campus, has gone actually directly over the area that you called Solon, because kind of diverted as to, what is that bright light? And then swerved back over. And now it is a light rain falling on the entire area as everybody is looking up and just going, oh, wow, shit. A Jimbus. Just everyone is just enjoying the light rain and the incredibly friendly, gigantic, colossal, kilometers tall creature.
No, the mascot's here.
Ooh, I just had an idea.
How are the stuffed animals coming along?
Could Yang, our resident woodsman, start putting a little wood energy into the ground and seeing if...
I was actually just going to ask for Yang to make a finesse navigate roll to examine what's going on.
Yang.
So Yang looks at the ground. Yang looks at the sky. The sun is almost set below the canyon, so the conjunction is over, but it is still pretty close. The moon is rising, the stars are visible. Saturn is very quickly ascending in the sky, to the point where if you watch over enough period of time, you can actually see it move at a decent pace to the naked eye. Like, not like trucking it across the sky, but faster than you normally see a celestial body move. It is. Saturn is going.
Moving.
But then you look back down as the moonlight and the sunlight are beginning to mingle on the ground as the water is going in. And you squat down. And you squat down a little closer. And you look at the ground. And you look at the dust that is turning into mud and turning into slurry, and the general churn of the water into the ground. And you notice something a little odd. You see... Well, you're not sure what you see. Is that grass or is that a tree?
God the two are pretty identical.
And then you look over, and you see a fairly identical looking little shoot of whatever it is. Grass? Tree? And then you move over, and you see another one. And you see another one. And then you see another one. And then you very gently scoop off a bit of the dirt. And you see that there is an entire interlinking network of roots that are linking all of the tiny shoots that are coming up from below the ground. And they are all going into each other, and you are just kind of scooting around following it. And you realize that they're also spreading out towards the pillar. There is an immense clonal organism that is beginning to grow under the soil near the pillar.
That's weird. They usually don't grow this fast.
No, like... It is very obviously, this is not something that just kind of grew up and now is springing up in the rain. This is... Wait a goddamn minute. Wait a goddamn minute. Gaia? Gaia?
I mean, she was always there, so I don't see why Gaia would be a big deal.
You can't... Maybe it was just a wood dragon. Maybe it was just a wood elemental. You don't know. Who knows? This is sure a lot of life to come out of fucking nowhere on very short notice, though.
Hey, Repose. Come look at these weird-ass plants.
Roll me either the finesse navigate for the botanical side, or, you know, finesse sagacity for the occult side.
Think about plant.
Think about plant. Which pool is that?
Sagacity.
So, something strikes you immediately as you are looking at it. As you are looking at the root structures as just kind of looking around through the ground, you're not the same sort of botanist. So you're not looking at it as a plant, you're looking at it as a phenomenon, you're looking at it as a diagram or an occult thing. And the first thing you immediately notice is that this thing is fractally structured, underground and above ground. And the fractal is based on groups of 5.
Kill plant.
This place is extremely blessed.
Is this good? Normally plants don't, do this.
Do what?
Well, I mean, like, grow is quick, I guess.
Pretty sure plants do grow.
Well, like, I've sat in the woods, I've watched plants, and usually they don't just kind of spring up in... Okay, just time that one. 5 seconds. As long as it's not malicious, then, whatever.
I mean, Sybil actually just kind of walks up behind you. You have watched bamboo grow, right?
That takes days.
Have you seen the right kind of bamboo?
Clearly not. Have you been holding back on bamboo?
Not deliberately, but
You
hey.
have the good bamboo?
You gotta show what the good bamboo
Ron,
is.
do we still have the quick growing shoots? Probably somewhere in the satchels. We should give them a... We are not giving the invasive species of bamboo to Yang.
You shouldn't give you the invasive
come
species
on.
of bamboo. You really shouldn't.
Come on, he's even saying no. That means he's learning restraint. That makes it funnier. No, yeah. Sybil, I know that you are probably all sorts of... We are both all sorts of places. We are not making the bad decisions this early again. We are.
Is Jivas making lightning? Weird.
Yeah, actually, as that conversation is going on, there is a lightning strike far in the sky above Jibus.
I'm just gonna let the ground vibe. It seems to know what it's doing.
They're good plants.
There is actually a very good image of a five-fold fractal plant in the chat. Because fractal growth in plants is actually not uncommon, and very, very pretty to look at.
Yeah, it is pretty.
It is just having a clonal organism of specifically the number 5 as the determinative of its fractal showing up at a holy site after a major divine event. It's maybe a sign, who knows?
As I have said to you before, this is good land. Good plants thrive in good land.
Meanwhile, Milan is lying there going, "Ah, shoot, I forgot to tell Yang about that other part of the plan I had for inviting Jimbus of planting some seeds ahead of time so that we can artificially create a good omen when he arrives."
Assume that Yang is always seed bombing.
Milan was going to set up this exact thing, but artificially, and doesn't realize this is actually happening.
Combination vape rig and seed bombing rig. Every exhale, I blast out a new ecosystem.
Fuck, man, I wish.
Vaping on spores.
Just remember Toad Combo.
Don't vape spores, please. Don't vape spores. That will end very badly for you and your lungs and your blood.
Mushrooms can grow in my lungs. Who cares?
Resident mycology person in chat is confirming do not vape spores under any circumstances.
I'm sure Yang will be fine doing it.
Yang can vape spores.
Yang is going to have an interesting experience, but could survive doing so, yes. By virtue of the plant poison resistance and immunity, you would live. That doesn't guarantee it's going to be pleasant.
But it can be an experience.
Yes.
And who
You'll
are
never
we?
know unless you try.
Repose
You gotta try.
will give kind of a firm, you should back up, look to these two, and then
Yep.
go to the Inquisitor, and
Immediately scoop.
point out the plants, discuss the plants, grab a few other professionals to be like, hey, yo, yeah, folks,
Yeah,
Speak
like,
up on it.
we got fives
Oi.
here.
who else would be... It's not Seraphon. Honestly, Waterfall? Waterfall would probably be interested by virtue of having passing knowledge of botany via swamp. Yeah, like... Oh, and Shireen, obviously. Like, look, just... And Dr. Clearheart for the herbology. Yeah, like a very large convocation of the convocation. Once they start realizing, wait a minute, this is a thing? And they all start look down and they just kind of go, oh, crap. It is very obviously, like, not even... Everyone is coming to the same conclusion independently, like, oh, this is a sign. This is... Who knows exactly what did this? But wow, this is a very obvious sign. This is a very obvious endorsement. This is as obvious an endorsement as the plague would have been an anti-endorsement. So, yeah, the alliance is basically getting a signal from somewhere saying, keep going, good job, fine work, skeleton.
And
Obsidian
have
points
all
at
of you in reach again, though I
What?
will not have the final say in the matter. I will strongly suggests that the primary topic of our first convocation be weather forecasts. You know it's the only thing they ever want to hear about. Unless the enemy is gnawing at the gates, it needs to be thrown back. It always comes back to, when will it rain? How much rain? Will there be wind with the rain?
How much lightning is there going to be with the rain? Is there a possibility of a flood? The Inquisitor continues on. Perhaps flash fires.
Why is the river so fast this year?
Why is there so much silt content? We can't see the fish.
And just, yeah, get that small talk, professional griping.
This is a good. Yeah, the Inquisitor's just kind of going on. It's like, I do not control the silt levels. It is from upriver, where the river gods and the earth elementals are doing it. It is not my job unless I go up there. Now, is it? And it is going to be my job if you don't quit complaining.
Meanwhile, Koi going, heh.
Koi is just like, that's not my problem. I have a filtration system set up. You could trust the gods to do it, or you could make the elements do it for you.
In the old country from which my forebears came, they had the great convenience of the answer always being there is no rain.
I suppose that is a convenience in its
And
own
in response, the people of those lands invented more ways to complain about the state of their river.
The Inquisitor actually just kind of breaks down chuckling about that one. And honestly,
At least
I
once
think
every 500 years, some king or another would become convinced that they could be the one to build a dam, to tame the river, to put it on a schedule.
Oh, and I'm
This
certain
was
the river
generally the
gods-
mark of when it was time for the turn of a dynasty.
The Inquisitor is now actually laughing fairly hard. Oh, and I'm sure they did make no negotiations with the actual god of the tide, did they?
Yes, the conversation carries on.
Yeah. And with that, I feel like that's a pretty good endpoint for the session. Mission accomplished far beyond my capacity to have even planned for. You went above and beyond everything I had accounted for in a wonderful way.
Look at the sun.
Think about sun.
Lamp.
Get crushed by lamp. Next time, probably finishing up the final details of the deliberative and then moving into... And then there was one question mark? At least one that... There are two, but one of them has a very large problem on their hands. Thank you, Lightning.
Next time. Something.